How's everybody doing today? Good morning or good day, depending on where you're from. Very excited to get today's live stream going. We're going to give a couple minutes for people to join. Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good day. How's everybody doing today? Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody's week is going well. Hope everybody's day is going well. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Just going to give it a couple minutes for people to join before we get into any of the information. Hope everybody's day is going well. Hope everybody's week is going well. Good morning, Kitty. Good morning, Graham. Good morning, Nay. Good morning, Nacho. Good morning, I Love Futures. Good morning, E-Crew. Good morning, Bands. Good morning, Lego. Good morning, Tyree. Good morning, Fuego. Good morning, Doug Yu. Good morning, Uday. Good morning, Natty. How's everybody doing today? Very excited for today's workshop. Going to just give a minute for people to join before we get into any information here. Good morning, good morning, good morning, or good day, depending on where you're from. We'll give just another minute or two, and then we will begin. Hope everybody's day is going well. Hope everybody's week is going well. Good morning, Bands. Good morning, Fuego. Good morning, Rodrigo. Good morning, PT. Good morning, Brian. Very excited for today's workshop. Today, we're going to be working on psychology and tips for overcoming tilt. I am very pleased to invite Rodrigo to speak with us today. Rodrigo has done a phenomenal job with psychology, with trader coaching, with all things to do with traders. He's a performance coach that has been helping other traders around the world for quite some time with all aspects of this business. I had the pleasure of meeting with him a couple weeks ago in person, in which the amount of value that he provided in the trader meetup was incredible. Some of the tools and resources he has helps traders of all levels throughout this business. If everybody could please give him a warm welcome. I'm really appreciative of Rodrigo's time, so let's be generous of his time. Let's give him a warm welcome. And if Rodrigo would like to introduce himself and tell the group a little bit about himself, that would be great.
Thank you, Ash. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, it sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Ash, really appreciate the invitation. And I'm so glad we got to meet in person in Miami. That was such an epic experience. And to be able to actually talk to traders in person, it's like 1,000 times better than doing these kind of Discord streams and live streams, which I've been doing for years. So having, it's such a great opportunity to have met my clients, even coaches that I've worked with, and successful traders like yourself. yeah, this is it was epic. I hope to do more workshops, and I want to just quickly, briefly introduce myself so we can, dive into this topic, because I want you guys to get so much value from what I'm about to cover with you guys, and it's going to be quite informal, very relaxed, conversational. Um, Ash will be contributing as well, and we're going to get some of you guys up on stage to do some live coaching. So it'll be really value packed call today. Now a little bit about myself. I have a background in psychology, and this was around 15 years ago when I finished university, and I just had the fascination about human behavior, and I was looking to get into rehabilitation. And then I realized there's not much money in it. So I was a little bit lost in what to do. So, you end up getting a job just to pay the bills. Now, eventually, my cousin introduced me to trading in 2014. And straight away, I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. And I realized from the beginning that this was a mental game. An interesting story, when I was in university, I unfortunately or fortunately, I was invited to a casino in the West End in London, and obviously, as it happens, you place a few bets on roulette, and wow, I got lucky, and within like 2 weeks, I had tripled my student loan, my bursary, my grants, everything that I was using in order to fund my my year. And then of course the winning streak and the self-sabotage and the greed, the gambling came out, and I ended up not only losing what the profits, but I ended up losing all of my student loan. So that was a very, very big lesson for me. And I used that lesson uh, to help me understand trading, because I noticed the same triggers in trading. I noticed that, oh wow, I've been here before. I've felt this anxiety when I lose a trade. I felt this excitement when I'm winning a trade. I'm gambling again. So I knew I needed to do something about these tendencies, these impulsive behaviors, the tilt, which I'm going to cover with you guys today, and how to overcome tilt. Um, and 10 years later, I've been fortunate enough to um, teach and coach other traders. And in the past few years, I've successfully coached now close to over 100 traders on a one-to-one basis. And have successfully withdrawn over $2 million from prop firms and unlocked over 20 million in funding. And that has been thanks to a very precise data-driven approach of systems and specialized accountability. And so I want to share with you guys some of the insights that me and my team have gathered in this last few years. And these insights are very, very important, because we've extracted these insights from our clients' trading journals. And every single one of our clients has experienced every impulsive psychological problem there is under the sun. But I'm going to be covering the four most common ones today with you guys, and that's FOMO, which is fear of missing out, closing trades early, revenge trading, overtrading kind of is related to revenge trading, and not following the trading plan. So I've got a lot to say, because of course there's so much data. Now, if you have any questions, there'll be moments where I will take on questions, but in case it looks like there's quite a lot of people here, which is awesome. So I would say write down the question, and then at the end or at some point when I ask a question, just quickly put it in the chat, and then I'll go through the questions. Now, oh, look at the chat. Wow, what a warm welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I prepared something for you guys. It's always good to have something visual when you're speaking, right?
So I
Okay,
do love to hear that such humble beginnings. A lot of people think that, you know, the people that have made progress in this business, it was handed to them, when in reality, we're all going through the same ups, the same downs. No matter where you are with your results, everybody's going to experience the things that he's going to cover here today. So there's a lot of value here. If you guys don't mind, like you said, please throw questions in the chat, but just realize we're going to get through the presentation first. So we will be getting to your questions. Let's get through the information first.
Thanks, Ash. And Ash, feel free to jump in. Would love to hear what your experience is, and would love to hear your thoughts. So, yeah, feel free to jump in at any moment, because I want this to be a really good collaboration. Right. So, okay, type a 1 in the chat if everyone can see my screen.
Yeah, I could see it here on my end.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Okay. Now, when we talk about these sorts of tendencies that end up in tilt, firstly, I'll just give a very brief explanation what I think tilt is. For me, tilt is emotional hijacking, and emotional hijacking has neurological, I would say, footprints. Right, there is evidence from neuroimaging of tilt. Now, tilt comes from the poker world when a poker player ends up getting emotionally hijacked and they end up ruining and self-sabotaging because of the emotions that they are experiencing, whether it's fear or greed, or even anger. Now, we've kind of stolen that term in the trading world because it just makes total sense, and it just sounds a bit sexier than just saying emotional hijacking. But that's tilt for me is something that happens neurologically and physiologically. Okay, you can experience it, you can feel it, and you can feel it, and you can even the thoughts and emotions and even your actions as well are evident. Now, and this is why it's important to understand what triggers FOMO, what triggers this type of behavior, because fear of missing out is very, very problematic. Type in FOMO if this is something that you guys are currently experiencing. Yeah, okay. So quite a few of you guys, Ash, Bobby, Yaya, Brian, Nay. Now, which one of these would you say on the screen do you guys experience before actually going ahead and FOMO trading? So FOMO is this fear of missing out, this fear that you're about to lose an opportunity, or that you are seeking to win. So there's feelings of that, there's a trigger of desperation, perhaps, maybe some anxiety. We've had clients that experience FOMO when they're just about to pass a challenge, or they about to get a payout. Yeah, who experiences that? So Tyree says closing early, rushing. Ash says outcome bias, impatience, missing trades. Yeah, this is a big one. because this is really the heart of it, isn't it? You miss a trade setup for whatever reason, and then you see price moving in your favor. You think to yourself, hey, why don't I just catch a 1-to-1 here? And you know what? Sometimes you will get away with it. This is the thing about breaking your rules, is that you do get away with it sometimes. But let me tell you what's happening in our brains. Because when you experience these triggers, your brain associates these triggers with a threat. Now you're under threat. And what happens to your brain when you're under threat? It goes into the part of your brain lights up, which is called the amygdala. And so cortisol floods your system. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and the amygdala fires up. Now, when this happens, this is a problem, guys, because you're no longer using the frontal lobe of your brain where logical thinking is and strategic thinking. Even your trading plan, it's gone. You know, when you're emotionally hijacked, when you're experiencing tilt, according to research, you experience short-term memory loss. So when you're experiencing FOMO, it's like everything you forgot about, everything you've prepared for, right? Who's experienced that when the damage is done, you FOMO'd into a trade, you look at it, and then afterwards, maybe the next day or a few hours later, you think to yourself, what the F have I just done? It feels like it wasn't you, right? See, Ren says, I experienced that when I'm close to passing a challenge or getting a payout. Yeah. Paradise says, I tend to risk more when I'm about to pass a challenge. Mike says, what happens when I get funded? Yeah, that's another one. It's like the pressure increases, right? And this pressure is now it's a threat. Yeah, let's add that in, pressure. There's pressure that, oh wow, now it's funded. Now this is real. I can actually get a payout. So this when you experience these, as long as you're aware of these, as long as you understand and anticipate these are there, you should not react straight away to them. Just make a list of the ones that affects you, and don't shoot yourself for it. Don't be hard on yourself. Like, empathize with yourself, because what's happening here when your triggers, when you experience a threat, guys, this is just your brain trying to protect you. This is a coping mechanism. This is a defense mechanism. So it means that you're a healthy human being, that you're just trying to survive. But in trading, you don't want to be a normal human being. You want to be exceptional. You want to be the 1%. And to do that, you need to unlearn a lot of the impulsive behaviors. You need to reprogram. Okay? You need to create new responses. You need to systemize mental models. So let's talk about some solutions. Yeah. Yes, I see a lot of you guys agreeing that it feels like you're someone else. It's like someone hacked into your brain and started full porting across the board. It's like, hey, that wasn't me, man. That was not me. Have you guys seen those complaints to prop firms? When people complain and they request for their prop challenge or funded account to be reset, because it's like some guy said, oh, I was possessed by a demon. That was, oh man. But you know what? There's truth to that. There is actually truth to that. Please don't tell me any of you guys ever messaged a prop firm to say that you've been possessed. Honestly, if it does feel like that sometimes. So let's talk about some solutions, guys. Now, remember, this is data that I've gathered from my clients that are now multiple 6-figure, even some of them 7-figure funded, and they are consistently profitable. So pay attention to these solutions, write them down. because I'm giving you guys the source right here. So solutions. It's very, very important to have a solid pre-session process. Okay, type a one in the chat if you have a pre-session process. A pre-session process means that it's not necessarily your entry model. This is just a checklist of actions that you do to prepare you for the session. Okay, there's a lot of ones. Fantastic. There's I see one. Gray's being very, very honest here. I appreciate the honesty. You do not. Okay. So if you experience FOMO and you don't have a solid pre-session process, then I suggest that you look at some of these solutions and you start implementing them into a pre-session process. Okay, so having a pre-session process allows you to make all the necessary decisions or the most important decisions before the trading occurs. And let me tell you why this is important and what's happening in the brain. And I'm going to give you guys a book recommendation for this. There's a book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman. And in this book, he's a Nobel Prize winner in behavioral economics. So you want to read this book because it's solid. Now, in some of the first few chapters, he talks about thinking the thinking fast versus thinking slow, and when you should apply both. So during your pre-session process, this is the time to think slow. Okay, this is the time when you want to prepare, process. You want to create your bias. You want to prepare physically and mentally. You want to optimize yourself. You may introduce some meditation, maybe some deep breathing. Maybe you go on a walk just to clear your mind. One of my favorite things to do is box breathing. So I breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, hold for 5 seconds. So you kind of go in this box of in, hold, out, hold. And that is it. What it does for physiologically, it reduces the cortisol levels in your body. Coming back to thinking slow, this is the time when you want to make the plan. You want to prepare yourself. Okay, you want to get into the zone. All right, you want to get into the flow state. And so it's important to have a very regimented pre-session process. And if you if you watch some of the interviews of some of the great athletes out there that play basketball, American football, or like players like Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi who play football, these guys, they have what's called a priming technique. They prime themselves for the game, and it might take a few minutes, it might take a few seconds, but they prime themselves, and this is their pre-session process. Yeah, and so what you're doing is you're getting into the zone because you're now entering into the fast thinking mode, and this is what Kahneman talks about. That fast thinking is automation. Okay, or you're just responding and you're acting according to your edge. You're acting according to your rules. You're responding and adapting to price action in the moment, but with actions that are aligned with your edge, meaning you're trading with the probabilities in your favor. And the reason why it's probabilities in your favor is because you're trading a proven edge, a data backed edge. You have back tested data, you have live tested data. You've learned from Ash a very data driven approach that has an edge. Now, fast thinking means you want to know this edge inside out. So you want to be thinking fast, you want to execute without much thought, because then you're inviting, if you're preparing, if you don't have a pre-session process and you're just jumping into the session, you're rushing into it, guess what happens? Your brain can't handle that. It will then associate what's happening as a threat. And then bang, the FOMO kicks in. Is this making sense to you guys? Type a 2 in the chat for me, or a yes in the chat. Is this making sense? Fantastic. Now, Ash, what do you use as part of your pre-session process? Do any of these resonate with you?
Yeah, so this definitely resonates with me. First thing comes with mind and body. It has nothing to do with the chart. If I'm not awake, if I haven't had my cup of coffee, if I'm a little hungry, if there's anything to do with my physical being, then I don't even move on to step 2. So it starts before the computer is even on. If I didn't get a good night of sleep, if I'm waking up and I haven't had my coffee, or if my wife is asking me to do some kind of responsibility, if I can't physically and mentally be prepared to even get to my desk, I'm not even going to get to my desk. I'm going to stop it right there, because it doesn't matter what the chart is saying if my mental is not in the right space. If I can't physically control myself because I'm too hungry or I'm too tired, then I'm not even going to get to the analysis. I'm not even going to get to the looking at the charts. So it definitely starts from the moment I wake up with preparing to get to that moment in time. If I could even say that I'm ready to start analyzing, then that's where I get to the desk and I prepare all of the systems. And before I even get to the charts, if my systems aren't set up properly, right, because a lot of us are copy trading or using prop firms or so on, if there's any technical issues, that's another part of the priming of getting ready. If the copy trader's not set up correctly, or if there's something to do with my accounts that is not working properly, again, I'm not going to even go to the part of analyzing. So there's multiple steps in which I'm checking off all the boxes before I even start analyzing. And then comes the charting and the analysis. But the most important part is the you versus you part. If you're not ready to risk, then it doesn't matter what the chart says. You gotta look inward first and be prepared to even show up to the desk.
Absolutely. I love that. It sounds like you've created a process there for you. It's almost like you have to earn the right to trade that session.
Correct.
Right. And this is when we begin to become very systemized, and you become accountable to yourself. And Ash, you're right. It is a me versus me type of mindset. And so you have to be you have to be almost give yourself these rules and processes so that you earn the right to take a trade that day. And if you haven't earned that right, perhaps maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep. Perhaps maybe you haven't eaten properly. You didn't do your morning exercise, so you're feeling not 100%. Then you gotta make that decision and just not trade for that day. Um, and also it's like if I don't do these things, I don't trade today. But you should also have a list in there of if I do these things, then I definitely not going to allow myself to trade. So it's like you need to have a do's and don'ts, and you want to start creating this decision making tree. And you need to have decisions where you do them when you're thinking slow, and decisions when you're thinking fast. And those decisions when you're thinking fast, you want to have them mapped out on your chart. So this is where chart analysis is very effective. This is where having charts prepared, having your alerts prepared. And what Ash said was spot on. Like, you have to have your copiers, you have to have all the tech tested, ready to go online. Because the last thing you want is to have a tech problem. Even your internet. You know, if you're, like, for example, one of the things I did today was I let my wife and daughter know, please don't download any movies because the next 90 minutes I'm streaming and I need all the bandwidth. So they were like, okay, fine. So I'm preparing the tech. I've closed all my windows and, you know, I've tested it, made sure I've got enough battery on my mic. So right now I'm in the zone. I've already made all the decisions. What you're seeing right now, this is my chart. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm just right now. I'm in flow. But to prepare for this, I was thinking. Sorry, right now I'm thinking fast. But to prepare for this, I was thinking slow. So if you have any questions regarding FOMO, write them down and we'll get to them, because I want to move on to closing your trades early. So type a 1 if you suffer from this, if you suffer from closing trades early. Damn. Oh, as Cooper puts in that big 1. Okay, all right. So this is clearly an issue. So I'm really, really glad that we're talking about this right now and we're addressing this. So some of the triggers that my clients they experience when they close trades early is this fear of losing. Okay, so there's this is a big one, guys, because it really, what it is an outcome bias, right? And so when you have this type of bias, losing is always going to remain a threat to you. And we already spoke about what happens when the brain associates a trigger like fear of losing, what that does to the brain. You get emotionally hijacked. You're no longer you. You're no longer the disciplined, data-driven trader. You're now just a caveman or cave woman trying to survive. It's literally what's happening. And so you need to really understand losing, because losses, on the surface, you guys will say, yeah, I understand losses are part of trading, losses are part of probability. But you guys are saying this and you understand it on the surface level, but you haven't actually accepted it as a belief. Otherwise, you wouldn't have this problem. Okay? You wouldn't have this problem. So fundamentally, you understand that losses are part of the game. But intrinsically, internally, your belief system says otherwise. And so you really need to dig deep. You really need to ask, why are you afraid of losing? Why do you not like losing money? What does money mean to you? What does money represent for you? And when you study your losses, you need to really go in. That's why it's so important to journal every single loss. Whether you like it or not, journal it. Let me show you guys something a presentation I did for my clients. I'm giving you guys a really, really powerful exclusive here. So one of my favorite philosophies to live by as a trader is Stoicism. So if you've not heard about Stoicism, or you have, type it in the chat. Type an S if you've heard about Stoicism. Okay. Yes. All right. We got a lot of Stoic fans. I love you guys. Man, this community is awesome. Ash, you've done an amazing job, man. Okay. So let's talk about how we can use stoicism to really intrinsically reframe what we think losses really are. Okay. And before we get into this, I want you guys to truly right now make the intention that you wanna change what you believe fundamentally about losses. Okay. This is the opportunity right now for you to have a paradigm shift about losses. So just make that intention, take a deep breath, and I want you guys to also write this down, because this is the time, guys. This is the time to actually make a change. All right, because losses, you can't get away from them. This is just part of the business. But let's really reprogram this. So you need to emphasize that process over outcome helps maintaining consistency and reducing stress. Okay, so when a process is well defined and followed, the rules will naturally improve over time. And one of my favorite quotes to represent this is that success is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So even it's so powerful, this quote. I want you guys to screenshot it, take a picture, tag me on social media, because this is very powerful here. Now, when we want to fundamentally reprogram what losses are, fundamentally what you need to really embrace is the process. You need to really become so obsessed with the process that the outcome, it doesn't impact you as much, because you're just addicted to the process. You thrive in the process. You get fulfillment from the process. And when you do that through the use of a trading journal, through having process orientated rules and avoiding this attachment to P&L, when you have a flow chart, when you have your trading plan, you have these checklists, and every single day you're ticking boxes, and you reward yourself, okay? You reward yourself for following the process, wins, losses, missed trades, even mistakes that you make. The fact that you're aware of that mistake, be content with it, because what you're doing is every single time you do that, it's a small hit of dopamine, and when you begin to restructure, rewire your brain. So so you're now changing your belief about losses, because now you're so obsessed with the process that you get more stimulation in your brain. You're more motivated because you get more dopamine from the process than you do with the outcome of the trade. And so important to, as part of your business, is to have SOPs, standard operating procedures. And we talked about the pre-session. You should also have SOPs for your forecasting. You should also have SOPs for trade management, and you should have SOPs for post-trade. And I want you guys in the next, from now on, I want you guys to split your trading journal into segments of 10 to 20 trades. Now, I want you to make a promise to yourself, make a promise to everyone here, make a promise to Ash, that for the next 10 trades, you are going to be you're going to just follow the process. You're going to detach from the outcome, and you're just going to tick the boxes. You're just going to follow the rules. Just commit to 10 trades. If you're ready to make that commitment right now, type in 10 in the chat. 10 trades, guys. This is not a light commitment, guys. Okay, this is a promise to yourself. And as a trader, you need to this is a contract you've just made. This is a pledge. Okay, you have to have integrity as a trader. Stoicism is all about integrity. It's all about truth. So you guys that have just committed, the next 10 trades, forget about funding, challenges, payouts. just focus on 10 trades of following the rules. Okay? Following your process, following your routine, because now it's not just about following your trading rules. It's about the whole preparation. It's about your routine. So for the next 10 trades, you guys need to follow your bedtime, your evening routine, because your day starts the night before. Write that down. The day begins the night before. And your morning routine. For the next 10 trades, all you're going to do is tick the boxes. That's it. And then when you guys finish, report it in. Maybe create a thread in the Discord community, 10 trade challenge. Rodrigo's 10 trade challenge. And I'll be checking in with you guys. All right. I want to see what the experience was, what you've experienced after making this pledge and just focusing on 10 trades. And if we go back to, here we go. When we go back to these triggers, now that you've committed the next 10 trades, what you're going to stumble across is this. This doesn't just disappear, guys. All right. This doesn't just disappear because they're still going to be there. The difference is now you're aware of it. You can anticipate the fear of losing. You're going to anticipate the fatigue, the impatience. And you're going to have a rule in place. So for every one of these triggers, you're going to have a solution in place. And let me give you some solutions to help you in this process. Predefine your proven system. So if you committed to these next 10 trades, that means you should have a proven system. You should have the rules in place. You should have the data that you trust. And you need to report to someone, your coach, your mentor, or buddy up. Buddy up with someone and commit to this. And you need to have a process as well where you walk away. You don't need to be glued onto the charts, guys. When you've made every decision you've had to make, it's so important to walk away. How many times you guys wish you had just walked away? So many times. Now, another solution for closing your trade early is essentially setting and forgetting. It's very similar just to walking away and just using your alerts. Now, a lot of the time, this is a solution to closing your trades early, because if you're watching the trade, then you're very likely to take action. And so if it might be as well an idea to, if you are going to, if it is aligned with your process, to adapt to price action, because I know some of you guys don't really have a mechanical exit plan. Some of you guys have a plan where you move your stop loss to break even, where you take partials at certain levels. So you can't really set and forget. Well, in that case, you need to use the alerts. And those alerts, when you hear that alert, you've got one job and one job only. It's, if I hear this alert, then I do this and nothing else. And just commit to that, guys, for 10 trades. And so what's going to start happening is that when you start implementing this, when you start to take that stoic approach to really obsessing about all of these solutions and rewarding yourself when you follow these, what ends up happening is you start to internally shift that belief. So all of those small drops of dopamine that you get from every single time you follow these solutions, you're allowing neuroplasticity to occur. You're now creating the neural pathways to replace your old behavior, to replace your old beliefs. Because in order for this to happen, you need to go. You need to address the beliefs that you have about losing, about money, about your success as a trader, and what you identify as a successful trader. What does it actually mean to you? What does success look like for you? Yeah, you need to have a very clear vision of what that is, because once you have that, then you have to figure out what are the guiding principles and values. What does my best self in 3 years, what does their routine look like? What does their trading plan look like? What does their pre-session process and their protocols look like? And then that's the standard, guys. That's the standard you need to be obsessed about, those processes. When you start to do this, that shift begins to happen. You then stop being so process orientated. And eventually, if you do this 10 trades and then review everything, another 10 trades, you review everything, another 10 trades, and you keep reviewing. And every time you make a mistake, bang, you start your 10 trades again. You want to have a clean set of 10 trades on your trading journal. And then you want to review. It's very important, this review stage. And you want to have someone check it as well. You want to have a coach. You want to have one of your trading buddies, an accountability partner, check this data and clarify what the lessons learned were, what the insights were. So you want to create these positive feedback loops in your process, so that you end up being the type of trader that is process orientated. Okay? But you need to fundamentally change the belief. Once you've changed your beliefs, that's when your thoughts and emotions begin to also shift. And when your thoughts and emotions begin to shift, your behaviors begin to shift. And when your behaviors begin to shift, guess what happens to the outcome? Yeah? Is this making sense to you guys? Type a yes in the chat. That's it. I love that you guys are active and paying attention. Excellent. And what sort of solutions have you had, Ash, when in regards to closing trades early? What sort of rules, what sort of protocols do you have to mitigate this? And in your system, is there a rule to actually close the trade early, or is it a fixed way of? Do you have a fixed rule in collapsing the trade?
So my system is a fixed 1 to 2 risk to reward. We're using breaker blocks that have FEGs that overlap them. We enter at the beginning of the breaker block with a stop loss below it. So we have defined locations in which we enter. We have defined locations in which the stop loss will be. And then we always aim for 2R. So I'm a fixed 1 to 2R. So I'm a set it and forget it type of individual. The only protocol in terms of closing early would be any real life responsibilities. If my wife needs help with something, or if my attention is taken away from the computer in which I can't manage my position, then I'll close it completely. I would rather be aware of what's going on, not that I'm clicking buttons. I'm still a set it and forget it type of individual, but I need to make sure that those orders are actually filled. So if I can't manually manage it in terms of making sure orders get filled during the set it and forget it, that would be the only reason to closing it early. And then on top of that, this might be taking a little too far, but I'm also only a 1 trade a day maximum individual and a 2 trades a week maximum individual. So on top of managing the position correctly, I'm also managing my emotions for after the position, meaning I don't care what happens to that set it and forget it. I already know that I'm turning the computer off and I'm going to the gym no matter the result.
Fantastic. What I really like about this protocol is that you have a contingency plan in case the orders are not exited. So even though you have a set and forget it, you need a human there to actually make sure that the trades are exited, especially if you're managing multiple accounts and you have a copy in place, because they're not 100%.
And that's the
And
exact reason. There has been many times where orders haven't been filled because Trade of Eight's having some issues, and then their trade copier isn't filling the orders, and then that's where this is a whole different discussion, so I won't get into it. But this is why people need to understand the risk before the risk is taken, and even though you have a defined plan, you still have to be there. You still have to give your business the respect it deserves. I mean, I know other people might think set it and forget it means, yeah, leave the office and whatever happens, happens. To me, set it, forget it is you deciding that you're either going to take stop loss or take TP. But during that process, you still need to be there to make sure that actually happens.
and on average, what is that duration from doing your forecast to closing the trade? What's the average duration of that time period?
So the preparation is probably from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and then any executions are from 8:30 a.m. to 11. So in total, about 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. Now, this for some people can be quite difficult if you're not used to that type of duration. And so one of the things I've noticed is that some traders are just not used to that kind of they don't have the stamina yet for that, right? 4 or 5 hours is quite a long period of time in order to stay focused. So do you have moments where you pause, you reset physically and mentally during those 4 or 5 hours, and what does that look like exactly to you?
Absolutely. So I actually have a standing desk for the purpose
Mm-hmm.
of because I get antsy. I'm human too, so I want the trade to work out properly. So I do start moving around a little more when I'm in a trade than when I'm not in a trade. So I do get some steps in. I do talk to the community. So there are things that are in place to endure that amount of time. Same thing here. I do normally live stream, so there are points in time where I get to answer questions, which allows me again to withstand that amount of time, because if I'm just simply staring at the chart and not doing anything other than the chart, it's going to be hard to focus for that amount of time. But if I have little other tasks that don't deter my goal but helps me pass time, those are the things I do, whether it's getting some steps in, talking to the community.
Okay, that's good. It's so important to have those pauses. But what I would say is that for anyone that hasn't yet conditioned their mind and their body to be able to handle and tolerate um, the hours of your trading session, then I suggest you practice. And the way to practice this is two ways. One, under simulated conditions, and two, under live conditions, but with no risk to your capital. So something that I would encourage, especially if you're not used to um, being so focused during a certain period of time and having, and I would say to plan the entire session. Now, instead of doing it live, I suggest using a tool like FX Replay, and you simulate a trading session or several sessions, but you give yourself time breaks. You give yourself time breaks where you walk away, where you do some stretching, where you do some breath work, where you hydrate yourself, where you perhaps go from standing to sitting. So what you do during this conditioning your mind and your body, you then replicate that live, and you do that under a simulated account. So now you begin to get used to it. Like a lot of them, a big mistake many traders make is that they just do very basic and simple back testing, where you can just like really fast forward through the data. But then when it comes to the real waiting, when you have to wait for actual candle closes, they're not conditioned for it. You haven't conditioned yet the stamina and the patience required. And remember, the more time you spend in front of the charts too, the more likely you're going to experience some of these triggers. Yeah, look at that. One of them is fatigue. My clients have reported that one of their big triggers to closing trades early is fatigue. This is huge, guys. That's why it's so important to have very good sleep hygiene. Okay? So important. I've never met a trader that has poor sleep hygiene or sleep that doesn't actually that they're not used to. You know, you got people that can sleep 5 hours and they'll be all right. But most people, I would say, need 7 or 8 hours most on a consistent basis. But it's also the quality of sleep too. Some people can have very high quality sleep for 5 hours and then, you know, they're good to go. Some people have 8 hours of sleep, but the quality of sleep is very, very poor. So I would definitely suggest, if you suffer from fatigue and you really want to build that resilience and the stamina of being focused, I would suggest getting yourself some electrical type devices, such as there's a Whoop bands are fantastic. You've got your iPhone watches. I like to use Garmin as well. I like to use Whoop. You've got these Aura rings as well, are great. And you really want to gamify your sleep. You really want to gather as much data about your sleep so that you can then improve it. Yeah. So we've also got two very, very common behaviors, the impulsive behaviors of tilt. Okay. Now, who here suffers from revenge trading or over trading? Type of one in the chat. Quite okay. Quite a few of you. I see some of you guys have answered yes to everything. Damn. Trading is tough. I know, man. You kind of have to go through every single one of these to eventually overcome it. So going through this right now and understanding this on a deeper level is very important. It also shows you that the fact that my most successful funded trader clients, the fact that they've gone through all of this, and you know, it goes to show that you're experiencing the journey. This is the journey, guys, that we need to embrace. Now, these are the common triggers. Which one of these do you guys experience? Those who said that you suffer from revenge trading. We've got frustration, anger, greed, fatigue is another one again that comes up. Poor sleep, desperation, conflict with others, fight or flight response. Which one of these is like your nemesis? Graham says this is the biggest problem. Yeah. Now, again, guys, this is when you're experiencing revenge trading and over trading. There's this again. There is an element of a threat that is occurring in your brain, and so you're gonna use all of these triggers and more. There's several more like that you might experience. that you need to use these as indicators. Okay, the trigger leads to a primary response. Okay, and what that primary response is the revenge trade. So you have a trigger, then a primary response. And that primary response then leads to a revenge trade. And in some cases, there's a secondary response. And these secondary responses are usually a domino effect of impulsive behaviors. Now, the thing about revenge trading and overtrading is that sometimes you will get away with it. And this is major. If you ever get away with revenge trading and overtrading, essentially you just got lucky. You can't be proud of yourself. You can't celebrate this, because as soon as you start feeling relief, the fact that you've revenge traded and you got away with it, or you've overtraded and it's like, oh right, I've had a smashing day, and then you've taken 10 entries, you've taken 10 trades. When you look at the chart, it's like it is an absolute mess. And then you feel, oh, I've made money, I'm up, so all good in the hood. This is a fallacy, guys. This is an illusion that you're now conditioning your brain that revenge trading is okay. Yeah. Does this resonate with some of you guys? Be honest, guys. Type it 2 in the chat if you've revenge traded and you've made money. You've actually been rewarded for it. You've revenge traded and you got funded. Yeah. So, and this is the thing. That's why what Ash does is very, very important. He already knows how many trades. He already has limits on the day, even on the week, because it helps him curve any sort of tilt. By having these limitations in place, you created this window of tolerance. Now everyone's different. For Ash, it's 2 A+ setups a week, and then he's done. For others, it might be 4 or 5 trades. Yeah. For some, it might be 2 trades a month. You need to know what your level of tolerance is. How many wins and losses can you tolerate? Because when this allows you to then create these limits. Now, I want you guys to write this down, what I'm about to say. Okay. And that is that there's 2 things that are happening. There's 2 equity lines that are occurring. There's two things that you're actually performing under. That is, so think about, let's say you've got 2 equity lines. One is your trading capital, yeah, and one is your mental capital. Now, mental capital is defined by several things, but just think of it as your sort of overall psychological state, mental and physical. Okay, this is your mental capital. If you want a deeper understanding of what mental capital is, there's some really good explanations on Wikipedia on mental capital. But I don't want to get into too much of the theory. So when you have, let's say this is your break-even point, and you have when you're in surplus or when you're in net profit on your trading capital, but you are in drawdown in the mental capital because you've gone beyond your window of tolerance. You've gone beyond the amount of trades you've given yourself, okay? Or the amount of risk that you've allowed yourself. You're now in mental drawdown. Or you've experienced one of these triggers, or one of the ones that we've already mentioned. So you're now emotionally hijacked. You're in mental drawdown. So what ends up happening is when you're in mental drawdown, that drags down your trading capital. Now, the only way to get out of that drawdown is you need to have a process which I call 3 R's. The 3 R's are someone can write it down in the chat. Reset, review, recalibrate. Okay. When you're in mental drawdown, it is close to impossible to get out of your trading capital drawdown. So you need to have a process where you reset. Where when you reset, you have to allow yourself time. It could take a few hours, it could take a day or two. Time to detach from the situation. And where you're not emotionally hijacked. Time for you to get rid of that cortisol, okay? And then you need, once you've detached, once you've reset, you then, and some of you resetting means going to the gym, maybe having a good night's sleep, maybe going into an ice plunge, whatever your reset is, or maybe a really hardcore workout. Have your reset in place. You wanna do this on a daily basis. Then the next thing is review. Okay, so it's reset, review, recalibrate. Thank you, Jay Stees. Appreciate the note there. When you're reviewing, you need to then review everything. You want to review your process, you want to review price action, and then you want to get back into sync. Your process and price needs to once again get into sync. At that point, you want to start recalibrating. You want to start getting back into it with small risk, right? You want to then adjust your risk because now you're down. Adjust your risk until you start getting in the zone again. You start making the right decisions. You're following your rules. At that point, your mental capital goes up. You're now net profitable on your mental capital, okay? Because you followed your rules, your process for what, 1 or 2 sessions. What ends up happening is your trading capital catches up. And what you want to do is you want to maintain net profitability on mental capital as well as trading capital. So because this is mental capital, it means you need to deposit into your mental capital bank account. Okay? How do you do that? Good sleep, good diet, your SDER. Someone write that down. SDER. Sleep, diet, exercise, relationships. Sleep, diet, exercise, relationships. I'll even add a 5th one, spirituality. Your SDERS. Okay? When you focus on this as part of your lifestyle, when you focus on every single one of these, you are adding into your mental capital bank account. And what happens is you start compounding. It starts compounding. Eventually, you build up so much momentum, so much consistency in your SDERS that it's very difficult for you to then go on tilt. You go on these beautiful runs, and yeah, you're going to make mistakes here and there, but because you've built up so much momentum, because you've compounded your mental capital so much, your trading capital also grows. The result, the outcome also grows. And your obsession with the process continues to grow because now you've created this positive feedback loop that the more you obsess with your SDERs, your protocols, your rules, the more you've done this and you've gamified it, the more obsessed you become with the process, that you end up completely detaching from the outcome. Can you see how what I'm saying, it's all coming together now, guys? Type a yes in the chat. Beautiful. So SDER, yeah, I can repeat. Sleep, diet, exercise, relationships, spirituality. Okay? What does that mean to every one of you? Who would like to come up on stage? I wanna understand, what does that mean to you guys? What does your SDERs mean? And which one of these that I've mentioned actually has had an impact on you? So far we've covered FOMO, we've covered closing trades early, revenge trading, and overtrading. Now, not following your trading plan, this is almost repeating a lot of the things we've already discussed. But I do want to get someone on stage.
Anybody that's
Who wants to
interested
come up?
has to press the button that says, I believe it says ask to speak. It does look like Aaron already asked. Let me find Aaron and I'll invite him. All right, Aaron, thanks for participating. I sent the invite.
Yes, thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Aaron, quick question. Have we met?
Yes.
Oh, good. Assalamu alaikum, brother. We met in Miami, right?
Yes. We met in the Miami Trader Workshop. Assalamu alaikum.
Excellent. All right. So tell me, which one of these four, these big four, would you say that you've experienced the most?
Not following the trading plan, because I feel like for me, it reflected my outlook and it came with everything with FOMO and closing trades early and revenge trading, because not following my trading plan has to do with all those scenarios.
Okay. So there's a combination of a lot of this happening. Okay. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this then, because for many of my clients, when the not following the trading plan is almost essentially a secondary behavior. It's what happens after you experience all of this. So you're absolutely right that you're experiencing a mixture of all of this that then leads to not following the trading plan. So tell me, when you experience FOMO or one of these, tell me exactly what sort of happens during that process for you.
During the process, usually, as Ash said before, I have a routine for in the morning. I read my journal out loud that I journal every day at 5 in the morning. I discipline myself to wake up in the morning because you need to become the person that you strive to become every single day. Every single day, you're here to become the best version of yourself. You're here to go through these tests, go through these mental obligations, your mental perception. You must be in tandem with your clarity of when you're taking a trade and what you're doing outside. Everything in life that you do counts. Everything matters. Every second
Mm,
that you do, every challenge, every struggle when it comes to family, when it comes to trading, it matters to how you truly become a person in mind. So for me, I would say it would be a bit of FOMO and desperation.
okay. So what usually triggers your FOMO then? Because you have a very good understanding and the importance of process and your SDERs and S. So what usually happens when you experience this?
For me, with FOMO, with fear of missing out,
Hmm.
especially from the trader workshop, I feel like I was missing entries that I could have taken. But like Ash always says, risk is what matters first. And whenever I used to take a trade, I always risked where it wasn't the it was low probability conditions or I wasn't following my checklist truly, to which then leading me to missing out the trade where I saw it later and then leading it to fear of missing out.
Okay. So there's two problems here. There's the lack of preparation, and then there is, once you've missed the trade, then you end up taking an incorrect trade. So there's two problems there. Now, why do you think this happens to you? Like what is it about you that causes this this lack of preparation? Specifically, yeah, because that's what happens first. You're just not prepared yet. Why do you do this?
I feel like lack of preparation can come from several aspects. It can come from sleep, it can come from what you eat, what you drink. It can also come from how you handle your behaviors and emotions when it comes to your external and internal aspect to then leading this.
Mm. So what does the bad sleep look like for
For
you?
me, bad sleep, for me personally, I sleep around 10 to 10:30. So if I don't get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep, my body cannot function, and therefore I cannot enter or exit on the charts.
Mm. And so when you have a poor night's sleep, and then what happens to your performance the next day, in particular with the preparation side?
Particularly if I'm on the charts with less sleep, I will not be able to function and give 100% mind of my clarity and my true intention towards my charts. And I can't give, obviously, 100% in everything that I'm doing in trading if I don't get lack of sleep, because of my lack of sleep is clouding my judgment, clouding every aspect of
Mm.
my life. Because if I have bad sleep, it's going to reflect to the person that I am when speaking to, for example, my mom. Like my judgment and my perception and my cognitive intuition won't be intact.
Hmm. But if you know this, why do you still do it? Why do you still force the trading session? What are you trying to get? What are you trying to achieve at that point?
At that point, you'd just be gambling. That's why you need to have your strict set of rules and following your schedule to a whole.
So at that point, do you know you're gambling? Do you, or are you not aware that you're gambling when this happens to you in particular?
I feel like when I'm in the trade, I know when I'm gambling because like when there's two choices that you can make. Um, you can either press the buy button or press the sell button, but you make the decision to enter and exit with how many cons/contracts that you want to particulate towards the risk. So I would say that would be my answer for that question.
Okay. So what kind of trader are you aiming to become? Are you aiming and yeah, what type of trader do you want to become? Do you want to become a trader that doesn't mind gambling, or allows gambling to occur in their process because you just not able to stop it? Or do you want to become the trader that is disciplined enough just to stay out? Because what's happening is that you've conditioned your brain, your reward system, to allow this to occur because this has happened more than once, correct?
Correct.
And so when you engage with price, having a lack of sleep, you're essentially now cognitively, you're just not, you haven't earned the right to trade, yet you're engaging with price, yet you've given yourself that right to do so. And sometimes you've probably gotten away with it. But this is not part of the trader that you wish to become. This is not being integral to the ideal vision that you've created for yourself, for your future, is it?
No, it's not.
So really, we're talking about integrity. We're talking about integrity to your future self. And so you need to be very strict with yourself and not allow yourself to engage with price if you haven't had adequate sleep. Because then what you're doing is you're rewarding this tendency where you end up gambling. And instead, whenever you decide not to trade because you've had inadequate sleep or low or poor sleep, reward yourself for that. And tick every time you do that, every time you decide not to trade, let that be the reward. Let that be the time you pat yourself in the back and you're like, okay, the Aaron 3 years from now, thanks you. You know, you're working for Aaron in 3 years. That's who you're working towards. You're working for him. You're doing because what your actions that you are and the decisions that you make today are impacting your future self. And I know you've got very ambitious goals. You have many things you want to achieve, but that can't happen if you're not integral to that future self, if you're not integral to your rules, if you don't respect that. So what kind of things do you think you can do in order to ensure that you have a good amount of sleep? And also, when you don't have a good amount of sleep, what can you do to just not give yourself that right to trade?
For me, it would be having a strict schedule outside from trading, have a strict same routine every single day, because action leads to consequences, and consequence leads to behavior, and behavior leads to the articulation of yourself. That's so having a strict schedule would keep me in total abundance of myself, and that's how I will be able to control my sleep. You can also have a sleep monitoring app, and you can have an alarm that would tell you as a reminder of when you should be sleeping and when you should be waking up and when to prepare yourself for the for your mental battle of becoming 100% in whole before entering the charts. So my current routine is I sleep, I wake up an hour before the charts around 5 to 5:30, and I get some food in. Because once I get food in, my brain can process better. Some healthy snacks, and then I get some water and start off my day.
Okay, that sounds great. And have you written it all down? Have you now set this as your protocols?
Yes.
Excellent. And what happens when you don't? What is the protocol for you when you don't when you haven't had adequate sleep, when you haven't followed your rules? What does that protocol look like?
For me, that protocol looks like is I have a group of trader friends where we send each other around $50 to $100 if we don't fully follow our schedule to a point where we broke one of our rules. Like our goal is not break a single rule in this business. Our goal is to be obviously you will make mistakes along the way, right? We are humans, we can't be perfect, but we also must be true to ourselves. We have to admit our rights and wrongs. This is the reason why so many people and all of us still to this day we will continue to struggle, we will continue to make mistakes, but if we are awakened in our mind, we will agree towards the mistakes with having accountability as friends, talking to each other about what we need to improve on and what we could do ahead for the upcoming week.
Mm. And this $50 forfeit, does that actually do anything for you?
Yeah.
Because these are your friends. Like I wouldn't mind giving $50 to my friend. What does that forfeit actually do for you?
What the $50 showcases, it is money's a tool, right? So money can trading is a business. So trading is a lifestyle, it is freedom. So what money that $50 does is that it gives away your time because you spent time earning that $50, right? You're trading your time to punish yourself to become a better version of yourself, to encompass the following week that you'll become a better trader. Why? How you become a better trader? Because you give that $50, you took your time, you took your passion, your hard work, and you're putting it to giving it to your friends because you're trying to make sure and you promise yourself that you won't make those same mistakes again and again and again. You want to make sure you become the right person in every aspect in every scenario for the following week. You want to be better each week possible.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. On a scale of 1 to 10 though, how much of an impact does that $50 forfeit give you? Let's say one being it doesn't do anything for you, doesn't motivate you at all, and 10 being it's like it's a kick in the gut. It really, really frustrates you when you have to forfeit that $50. On a scale of 1 to 10, how does that impact you?
I feel like for me, as of right now, I would say an 8 because even though you're giving $50 away, right? You're not truly gonna be like and say at the point, okay, wait, should I follow my rules? This is $50, right? But $50, even for me till this day, is still a lot, right? But that's how you hold yourself accountable. You should be recording yourself every trade because every trade is how you will manage your emotions. That's one thing that I'm improving on, how to be on and how to be off the charts. That's how that $50 comes in because like, okay, I can see next week, how are my emotions different compared to last week? That's how I reuse
Mm,
OBS to record all my trades to see how I'm handling these different tackles so I can betterment myself in my own trading journey.
mm. Yeah, I would I do like this process. I think having a forfeit can be a good motivator indeed, but eventually you might condition yourself that eventually you'll get comfortable with that $50 forfeit eventually. So when that starts to happen, when it becomes 6, 5 out of 10, where it doesn't really have a huge impact on you, then you need to be prepared to change that protocol. So some of the things you can do is not allow yourself uh, a certain amount of time to engage with price. Or the other thing is time, because you mentioned that it takes a certain amount of time for you to make that $50. So perhaps maybe it might not be the amount of money, it's more about the time. So what can you do to forfeit time? Because that's really what you value aside from the money. So that's something to think about. And sometimes, having these type of forfeits it it works for some people, it might not work for others. So just be something, if as long as it works for you, then that's key. But now that you've come up with these protocols, it's important just to stick to them, journal them, and monitor them so that you can see what the positive or negative impact or any impact it has in your performance. Otherwise, if you continue in this, then you're just always going to end up self-sabotaging your efforts, and you end up rewarding the wrong behaviors. You end up rewarding the FOMO, and that's not what you want. You don't want to reward the FOMO. You want to and you're spot on that it is our actions, it is what we habitually do that defines us. So how long have you been implementing these protocols, and what impact has that had on your trading? Or have you just come up with those?
I've been implementing this for the last 3 weeks, and it's
Mhm.
truly been a game changer. Ever since I made up with these rules, I came up with these rules. I say it out loud every single night, every single morning, because I want to become the best person of me, the best.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a trading term, institutional order flow, because I want to be in whole with my institutional of my order flow, because trading is my business. It should be everyone's business. Treat it as a business. So during those 3 weeks, I've seen a huge change when it came to me sleeping, my eating habits, my schedule, coming back home from work, and then giving time aside to eat properly, and then coming back onto the charts to analyze my journal, what I did to improve, else could I improve on, and what mistakes did I make, so I can still be better and admit to everything that I've done.
Wow. So a lot has changed. A very positive impact the last 3 weeks since we met in Miami.
Yes.
Fantastic. Very, very pleased about that. I really appreciate your contributions, Aaron. Do you have any comments, Ash, in regards to what Aaron has said or what I've said? Anything from you?
In my opinion, it needs the reason why needs to be so strong that you can endure anyhow. It's that a monetary reason, I don't know what $50 means to you monetarily, but if that means a lot to you, then it sounds like a good objective to use. But for me, the number one thing in my life is my family and my health. So that's why I always talk to my wife about these things, because the last thing that I want to do, and it internally really impacts me, if I let my wife down, if I've done something against what we agreed on, she's the most important thing to me in my life. So, letting her down truly impacts me. So if $50 does truly impact you, then yes, that's a great way of going about it. Just make sure that that why is strong enough, because then anyhow you'll be able to endure.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. My why is to show up every single day for the betterment of my family, my future family, for my mother and my father, because they are the two most important people of my life. I'm in this world because of them, and I must show respect and become the best version of myself in order for me to become a true man and a true person at heart.
So maybe that would even be a good way of taking another approach is, sitting down and being like, here's my checklist. Anytime I go outside of this checklist, hold me accountable. And not your friends, but the family members you're referring to now, because, when you let your mom down, she's upset with you, that might hurt a little more than $50. And then you're not going to want to do it again, because you're not going to want to disappoint her.
Totally,
Yeah,
totally agree because
I love that.
yes, I totally agree with that because it brings my mom into the scenario where my emotions can be handled differently in that scenario where she can help me. She can help me and I could tell her my rules and because since it's my mom, I have a very close relationship with her. She could tell me I could s- she could tell me the mistakes that I'm doing and I could tell her the mistakes that I could be fixing upon myself from there on.
Mm, absolutely. I really love that, Ash. And it just gave me an idea for Aaron and for anyone else listening that also has this big why their parents or their spouse or their children are their big why is to have a calendar on just a public calendar. So somewhere like the fridge or in your on your office, wherever, somewhere where everyone can see. And on that calendar, you're going to map out all the days which you decide to trade. And it's either going to be a tick or an X. A tick is you followed your process. No matter what the outcome was, you followed your process that you've predefined. An X in red is you didn't follow your process. And guess what? This is something that they can see. So now you're creating this layer of accountability that is beyond you, because you have to explain to them that those ticks and those crosses define who you are and who you want to become and where you want to take your family. And the last thing you want is for them to see those X's. So then you're pushed. You're fundamentally, your core is so motivated to follow the process that the pain of letting them down, it exceeds the pain of missing that trade, because that's what's happening. Because we are creatures, we're human beings that are motivated by pain. So by embracing pain properly, you end up replacing the pain of missing out that trade or missing out the trading session, and you replace it with the pain of letting your family down, because that's more powerful.
Yes, 100%.
And that right there is a solution for you to, and a mindset shift, or because you can't get rid of pain. Okay, we can't get rid of it, but what we can do is we can reframe it. So missing out on a trade, this when we talk about these triggers. These are very uncomfortable triggers. Anxiety, desperation, impatience, frustration, pressure, missing the trade, rushing. Like, this is uncomfortable. But letting your family down, letting your parents down, that outweighs all of this. So that's something that you can do. So I really hope that you and others listening got value from this interaction. I really did, honestly. It's just like so powerful connecting with you, Aaron and Ash. That was powerful, guys. Love it.
I also want to say thank you, Aaron. That it's not easy talking about these things, especially in front of other people. But with that being said, it doesn't matter whether you're in your first year, your first week, your fifth year. These are things that we all deal with. I mean, you guys saw me responding to all these questions too. Just because you make a profit or had a profitable year doesn't mean that you don't still deal with these in your first year, your fifth year, your 10th year. This business is a you versus you business. You're going to have to deal with these situations throughout the entire time that you're in this business. I still deal with these things. That's why I was answering these questions. But it's the person that is capable of recognizing these things happening and taking the corrective action to doing what needs to be done for the better of your business. And that's why I said the why has to be that strong. Because if the why isn't strong, then you might just submit to these things that occur. You might not care that you're gambling and you might continue to keep gambling. Right? So it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. We all experience this, but you have to make an internal decision to take the corrective action. And then even when you have those solutions, when you have those systems in place to take those corrective actions, you have to be mentally and emotionally strong enough to implement them when they come up. You have to be strong enough. You have to have the mental intelligence to identify that it's happening. And when it is happening, emotionally strong enough to say, now we need to put this system in place. Right? Like, for example, you heard me say that I only take one trade a day maximum. Well, what do you do after that one trade is taken? Are you going to the gym? Great. Well, are the charts still on your phone? Or have you erased all the apps from your phone? Are you strong enough to actually lock yourself off of the phone as well? Just because you leave the office doesn't mean you don't have access to it. Like, these systems need to be in place, and you have to have the strength to implement them daily during your first year, your fifth year, and your 10th year. It's always a battle.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to once again thank you, Aaron. Feel free to jump off. Really appreciate that contribution and Ash, those what you said is absolutely spot on. It's really so important to have that why. And if you're not at that place yet, though, where you have that ability to be aware of these, where you're not you don't have the resilience and the discipline to allow your why to dictate your actions, then you're just on that journey towards that. And the journey isn't like A and B. You don't just get to B. This is ongoing, guys. There really is no destination to succeeding as a trader. There's no destination to improving. There is just constant improvement, constant. And so wherever you are, don't judge yourself for it. Don't compare yourself to, someone else's chapter 100. Like, you stick to where you are, be grateful for where you are, be grateful for all the mistakes, everything that you've experienced, and just work with what you have. And in time it will come. So I want to share my screen once again. Now, seems that I have
I just want to say a word. I just
it's
want to say
closed.
thank you, thank you, Rodrigo and Ash Trades and everyone at Ash Capital for having me.
Thank you, Aaron. We greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you, thank you.
Right. So with not following rules, these are some solutions that my clients have come up with in order to mitigate not following the trading plan. And so have screenshot these and make sure that you understand them. If you don't understand them, then we're going to do a Q&A for the next 15 minutes. So any questions that you've come up with during the session, this is a good time to start asking them. And then Ash and I will go through them. Now, going through these right now, if there's any that you're unsure about, yeah, you can ask me. But they're pretty much clear solutions. We actually came up with some a new solution with having your family see your like a calendar and an X and a tick. I'm going to add that in here actually because that's so powerful. And some of these are really just quite common sense when you think about it. You know, having a flow chart, for example, closing the charts after a loss. Some of these are just common sense, isn't it? Now, with everything that I've spoken about, everything that we've touched on today, we've covered a lot, guys. Really, really proud of you guys because we've covered so much in these last 90 minutes. So this is being recorded, so I would definitely highly recommend going through this again. Now, one thing that you guys can do in order to overcome tilt and these primary responses to tilt is one of my favorite things to do, and that's visualization. One of my favorite things to do with a client is to help them visualize them experiencing FOMO, closing the trade early or revenge trading, but visualizing the triggers and then using that opportunity to correct that behavior. And doing this over and over and over again, what ends up happening is you build the reps in your mind, which makes the neuroplasticity, the rewiring, the reprogramming to occur so much quicker. So utilize visualization. And because it's something that is so powerful. And if you can get a coach like myself to guide you through a visualization, wow, it's so powerful when this happens. It's one of the tools that my clients have used in order to really make the change happen sooner rather than later. Because if you can practice it and see it in your mind 1,000 times, when it happens in real time, you allow your fast thinking. It becomes automatic. All the solutions that we went through just are like automatic. You don't even think, you're just doing. You're in flow because you've practiced it so many times in your mind. So that's very, very powerful. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the chat here, see what questions we've got. Have you spotted any questions, Ash, that I can answer?
There was questions earlier. I am going to ask if anybody does have any questions to put them back into the chat. There's been a lot of comments since, so I was not able to write down all the questions that were occurring throughout the workshop. So please do throw those questions into the chat again, and we can go over them.
I see a question from Graham. What are the main points I should touch on in Trade Journal every day? So you want to be able to capture the core data of your strategy. Now, one thing that I like to do is I also like to track all of the processes as well. And I do that by, for example, having a process for my pre-session that we discussed earlier. And so then having, let's say, a list of 5 things that are non-negotiables that I have to do, I tick that. But then that ticking becomes tracked. And so then I can see all the trades where I followed my pre-session protocol. And out of those 5 ticks, how many of those did I complete? If I completed half of them, let's say, or maybe 1 or 2 of them, what was the outcome of the trade? But then I start to look, when I do my review, I start to look at the last 20 trades and what impact not following my process, what impact does that have on my trading? So these are kind of things I like to journal. Other things that you can journal are things such as what happens after you TP. So if you are aiming for just 2R, I think an important metric to also analyze is how much drawdown occurred during whilst the trade is open, and where did the trade go after you closed the trade? What was the average? What was the R multiple? And then track that. And after 20, 30, 50 trades, you can see whether you might be able to extend your TP, and because then you will understand, how much drawdown usually occurs, how long and also the time frame, the duration of the trades. That's something that not many people track, how long they're actually in the trade. Now, these are sorts of metrics that you can have, like TradeZeller, for example, that automatically tracks the trade duration. So utilizing tools like TradeZeller, they have very good metrics that you want to be using, because if your average or when your best performing trades are usually you're holding them for, let's say, 30 minutes, why push a trade and trying to hold it for 90 minutes, trying to squeeze so much from it when usually your best trades are like 30 minutes? Yeah. These are the kind of things that I think are important in the trading journal. And so a trading journal is a living, breathing document. It's constantly evolving. You're constantly learning from it, and you're constantly generating ideas and refinements. You can end up actually creating new strategies from your trading journal. And as you progress as a trader, it's important to have an arsenal of different ways to trade. It might be the core setup might still be there, the narrative, the sort of context, and the higher time frame, the bias you might have a process for that, but there might be different ways in which you enter the trade, or you exit the trade, or how you manage your stop loss. So these are the kind of things you want to be journaling as well. At what point should you break even? Should it be at 1R? Should it be at 2R? Or should you not break even at all? Does breaking even, does that affect your overall performance? This is the kind of things you want to be back testing in your journal, and you want to be tracking live. Sometimes I've got clients that I just remove the break-even rule. It's either TP or a stop loss. No break even. Yeah. Usually they're going for like 1R. They have a high win rate, 80% win rate. They don't need to break even. It's either stop loss or 1R. So they pretty much have a really good set and forget rule. So these are the kind of things I would say.
So it looks like
What is-
JC's found one of the questions. What would you say is a good way to reprogram your mind to think this way?
So he's worked, that's a great question. He's worked as a construction manager for over 10 years, where I was often forced to train my mind to function under challenging conditions, working with little sleep, eating poorly, and feeling both emotionally and physically drained. Despite this, I always had to show up, perform, and give my best effort. I feel like I'm letting myself down by missing a session. Yeah, so your personal experience, like you've really conditioned um, your on a cellular level, you've conditioned your mind and body to perform under eating poorly and not sleeping properly and feeling emotionally and physically drained, but uh, still still having to go to work. Now this whenever I have a client like this, reprogramming has to occur in a systematic way, and this systematic way has to be personalized, and so this systematic method has to be a huge transition towards actually, can you just stick to a very simple routine? Can you stick to a very simple trading plan? Can you do this under simulated conditions for, let's say, 20 trades? Okay, now let's do that on a live account. Can you do that on a live account with, small risk? And it's gradually you are gathering that data, and you are conditioning yourself to these new behaviors, to these new actions. And so when I work with someone that has like a decade worth of bad habits and impulses, it usually takes a good 4 months to fully reprogram someone. I have a client called Gary. He owns a construction business. He's actually I think he's in the process of selling it, but he's 16 years as a trader, 16 years experience as a trader. And so when I started working with him a couple of years ago, he had a lot of bad habits. He had a lot of, similar to what your experience. And it was a gradual process. And it was really about him coming up with systems and rules and routines that he can actually agree to and accept. And luckily for him, he had his wife, Jessica. She was very supportive in that process. So she encouraged and allowed him to have that time. And, gradually, he managed to start reprogramming this old behavior. And it was very systematic. He's actually one of my most successful clients. He's earned $100,000 in payouts, and he bought a house in California. He's bought his dream home in California, and I was so fortunate enough to actually meet him and his wife. We had dinner together in Miami, and it was so fulfilling for me to see that transformation, and for Jessica to take me to the side and just thank me. She from the bottom of her heart, she thanked me because her husband changed. Gary changed. He became a better person. He became a better human being. He became a better husband because he completely transformed. And that transformation takes a bit of time. And so he needed a lot of guidance. He needed a lot of accountability. He needed to check in every day. So those 4 months, it was hard work, but man, it was so rewarding.
So I would like to put my 2 cents in with this one too. I was growing up as an athlete, so I was always under the impression of working harder, not smarter. So in terms of a way to reprogram your mind, we have to make decisions on a probabilistic basis. We have to understand probabilities and always put ourselves in a higher probability situation. It's not always going to be making a quick decision and then instantly taking action. It may require some patience So in terms of reprogramming the mind, one of the things that I did in terms of becoming a trader was making a checklist, making a pros and cons. So before I would make a decision, instead of trying to act quickly, I would move to making a pros and cons list, which would then force me to be more patient and selective than normal. Because as a football player growing up, you're trying to instantly react as quick as possible so that you can make the best play. Yes, you still make a decision, but the importance here and the difference between sports and trading is needing to be patient, needing to point out probabilities instead of instantly acting, because you don't want to just instantly jump into every single trade every single time you see one. You have to point out the probabilities in being able to say, okay, we're dealing with higher probabilities now. Okay, I'll accept the risk. But you have to slow down to do that. And so, on top of making a list of pros and cons for decision making, I also started implementing discipline in my real life to slow me down. And the way that I did that was reading books. Discipline's created by doing something you don't want to do, but you do it anyways because you know it's good for you. That was reading books for me. So I can't read a book in 2 seconds. That was another thing that slowed me down and made me think smarter, right? Work smarter, not harder. Along with the beneficial impacts of reading these psychology books, reading these trading books, getting the information and learning instead of acting, putting education first instead of instantly acting all of the time. So the pros and cons, making a list, those were things that helped me reprogram from working harder to working smarter and being able to physically see probabilities right in front of my eyes. And then also reading books, working on my physical being of working smarter and not harder. So in my opinion, checklists of pros and cons and reading books are two very good ways of actually reprogramming your mind to become a trader.
Love that. Yeah, it's so important to fully embrace these principles and these values from trading in life, in your personal life. You have to just embody these, and you just become a disciplined person. You just become a person that is honest. You become a person that shows up, and that's why, yeah, trading for me it's a lifestyle. Like it is literally a lifestyle. You just have to commit to being a person that is of high caliber, high standards, and surrounding yourself with people that are to that standard, and letting go of people who are bringing you down or force you or influence you to be substandard. And that's the sacrifices we need to make as a trader. That's why sometimes it can feel lonely. Sometimes it feels like we have to let people go. We love them, but sometimes not hanging around with them so much is a way of us doing good for them. Because you gotta make sacrifices, guys. But on that note, I do have to leave. I've just realized I have another call. But I got so into the zone, I completely lost track of time. But I want to use this opportunity to thank you, Ash, for this opportunity to speak to your community. I can see, you've created such an incredible community of like-minded traders, and the engagement here from you guys has been absolutely amazing. I didn't quite get to all your questions. I see some really amazing questions. Well, if I haven't answered your questions, please reach out to me or on Instagram or even here on Discord. I would love to be able to engage with you guys. But I've taken a lot from this. I've gotten so much value from this. I feel so good after this. For me, this is one of my one of the things that gives me so much fulfillment. And so thank you again for the opportunity, Ash. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it. I mean, the amount of value that you brought today was incredible. If everybody could give Rodrigo a round of applause, that was absolutely phenomenal. Just pure gold for a straight hour and a half here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you want to let everybody know or link your socials somewhere in the chat so that anybody can connect with you from today's meeting, that would be great. Thank you for your time, and I would love to do this again. So we'll figure out another workshop.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to do this again. And yeah, I've got the I'll paste my links on there. I think you pasted it earlier. Appreciate that. And if this is going to get recorded, yeah, you can just just click the link in the description or something, reach out. I've got an open door policy, so any question is not a stupid question as long as it's not a lazy question. But again, really look forward to another session. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.
And you. Bye for
All
now.
right. Bye, guys.